Chapter 4505. When the Qilin lion had turned its attention to it, the white lion had sensed that something was amiss. If it had been an ordinary demonic beast, the white lion would not have been afraid. However, the Qilin lion was a divine beast and had reached such a high level of cultivation. The white lion was no match for the Qilin lion. Every beast king's growth was extremely difficult because they could only fight alone. But at the same time, as long as a beast king grew up, it would definitely become an extremely powerful existence. Although it looked like it had been cultivating for a long time, judging from the long life of a demonic beast, it had not yet reached the growth stage. The white lion was not too worried when it encountered other demonic beasts. However, when it saw the severely injured Qilin lion in front of it, it felt extremely uneasy. It was a powerful threat. The white lion could even guess the thoughts that had been etched in its heart for the first time in years. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other when they noticed the Qilin lion's interest in the white lion. Their eyes were filled with worry. Usually, when a demonic beast notices that a beast king has become a contract beast, it would feel extremely strange. This was a very normal reaction. However, they could sense a sense of unease from the Qilin lion's reaction. They felt that the Qilin lion was up to something else. As long as you leave this beast king behind, you may leave. The Qilin lion stared lazily at Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen, as if it had done them a great favor. In reality, they were merely two humans and it did not care about them at all. Under normal circumstances, the Qilin lion would have easily gotten rid of the two humans. However, its injuries were more serious now and it wanted to avoid fighting if it could. However, it must have this beast king. As the Qilin lion spoke, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's hearts skipped a beat. They had been right to worry. The Qilin lion's target was the white lion. You want to suck the power from my blood and take over my body to become the next beast king? The white lion stared coldly at the Qilin lion. From the Qilin lion's greedy eyes, the white lion could guess its intentions. You're pretty smart. The Qilin lion beast laughed heartily. If you were strong enough, you wouldn't have to worry about this problem. It's a pity that you haven't grown up yet. My luck is really good. As for Bailey Hongzhuang, after hearing the conversation between the two demonic beasts, they were also shocked. They never thought that there would be such a method. As for the beast kings, they only knew that they were extremely powerful after they grew up, but there were many things that they did not know. Who would have thought that a beast king could be seized? If that was the case, wouldn't the white lion be in extreme danger? Baisher also knew Bailey Hongzhuang, and the two of them were extremely puzzled. He immediately explained, in fact, very few people know about this method. Only the other party is also a demonic beast, so it is possible for them to do such a thing. Otherwise, my bloodline power would suffer a severe backlash if ordinary demonic beasts tried to absorb it. Even if it wants to do so, it will have to pay a great price. Then why is it doing this? Chapter 4506. It's currently heavily injured. The previous battle has already damaged its source of power. Even if it recovers from its injuries, I'm afraid that its cultivation level will stagnate and it will be very difficult for it to progress any further. The white lion's expression was extremely solemn. As a demonic beast, it understood the situation very well. Furthermore, it was a beast king. As its powers increase, the inheritance in its bloodline is slowly awakening. It now understands many things that it did not understand in the past. Hence, it could tell at one glance that the Qilin lion's power source had been damaged. Under such circumstances, if the Qilin lion beast could take over his body and devour his soul, then not only would it become the next king of the beasts, all of its previous problems would also be solved. This was undoubtedly the best deal for him. As soon as this was said, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen understood. The Qilin lion and the beast king were both divine beasts, but the beast king was obviously more powerful. If the Qilin lion could transform into a beast king, its potential would be limitless and its future achievements would be even greater. To the white lion, this was a very good deal. However, they never thought that there would be such a rule between demonic beasts. This was simply too cruel. Even though only divine beasts could do this, it was extremely dangerous to encounter one. After all, a beast king would need a long time to grow. During this period of time, anything could happen. Previously, they had thought too simply and never thought that something like this would happen. If they had been hoping for a fluke before, they now knew that they would have to fight to the death. The Qilin lion would never let the white lion go, and neither would they give up on the white lion. Hence, they must fight this battle. Since you already know my plan, why don't you just agree to it? This way I can still let them leave alive. Otherwise they will have to die with you. The Qilin lion's eyes were malicious and vicious. Its solemn vow was filled with confidence as if it had already decided that this ending would not change. Hearing this, the white lion looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen with mixed feelings. It was absolutely unwilling to be captured without putting up a fight, but if that was the case, wouldn't it implicate its master and Beichen? Noticing the change in Baisher's expression, the fair-faced Hongzhuang replied without hesitation, "If you want to fight, then fight. What's the point of saying so much nonsense?" At this moment, Di Beichen looked at White Lion. "If this Qilin lion beast dies, what good will it do you?" In the great wide world, many things were relatively fair. Since the Qilin lion could benefit so much from the White Lion should be able to benefit as well. Otherwise it would be too unfair. If I can kill it and absorb its bloodline power, my cultivation will improve greatly and my talent will become even more outstanding. The White Lion said, but it was a little confused. It did not know why Di Beichen asked it this question. Di Beichen nodded and said, "In that case, we will kill this Qilin lion beast and pave the way for your cultivation." Hearing this, the Qilin lion beast laughed. "How dare you say such nonsense in front of me? You are really a newborn calf that is not afraid of a tiger." Chapter 4507. As soon as the Qilin lion beast finished speaking, a powerful force burst out from within its body. Bailey Hongzhuang, Di Beichen, and the four beasts were ready to attack. Even though the Qilin lion beast was of a higher rank than them, as long as there was a chance, they would not give up. The moment the Qilin lion beast attacked, they knew that it was of the metal element. Among the 5 elements, metal was the element with the most destructive power. Instantly, everyone's heart sank. This metal-type Qilin lion beast would be even more difficult to deal with. Even so, their fighting spirit did not change in the slightest. They were a team. Even if all of them were to die here today, they would not give up on the White Lion. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' high fighting spirit, the Qilin lion beast was displeased. It was a dignified divine beast. Usually, no matter if it was a demonic beast or a cultivator, they would all retreat when they saw it. However, these guys in front of it were obviously much weaker than it, but they didn't show the slightest bit of fear. This made it feel very unhappy. It wanted to see these guys tremble in fear in front of it. In the next moment, the Qilin lion beast's body flashed. It raised its hand and a ray of metal-type energy attacked. This was clearly a casual attack, but Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could feel an extremely powerful metal-type energy. The sharp aura rushed towards them and they felt as if a knife had sliced across their faces. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen did not dare to underestimate the attack of a Nebula Realm demonic beast. Even though the Qilin lion beast was heavily injured, it was not something that a Starlight Realm cultivator could handle. Bang! Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen unleashed their martial arts techniques at the same time, charging towards the golden ray of light. The two powerful forces collided. Bailey Hongzhuang immediately realized how terrifying the metal-type energy of the Qilin lion beast was. The sharpness of the attack was not something they had seen before. Their martial arts techniques were almost sliced into two by the golden ray of light. Fortunately, the two attacks met the golden light at the same time, but Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen still couldn't help but take 2 steps back. The two of them looked at each other in astonishment. This was the advantage of cultivating elemental powers. Back in the demonic dragon abyss, when they were being chased by assassins, they also had the same feeling. The opponent's condensed power was too strong, and the martial skills they used were simply unable to deal with it. If they were not aware of this back then, they now understood after witnessing the Qilin lion's methods. It was no wonder that all cultivators had to undergo the awakening of their innate talents. After the awakening, their combat power was simply incomparable to before the awakening. The Qilin lion was not surprised to see Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen fending off its attack. It was just a casual attack. If they could not withstand it, they would be too weak. "You dare to fight me with such little strength? You're courting death." The Qilin lion beast was stunned. Then, it waved its hands and dozens of golden rays of light rained down on Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Seeing this, the expressions of the two people and the four beasts changed. One golden ray of light was already difficult enough to fend off. One could imagine how difficult it would be to fend off dozens of golden rays of light. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen did not hesitate to unleash their martial arts techniques. The four beasts also unleashed their elemental energy. Ding ding ding. The 6 of them retreated quickly and attacked. Chapter 4508. In the span of a few breaths, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were covered in over 10 wounds. Their robes were stained red with blood. In comparison, the four beasts were in a much better condition. They were mystical beasts after all. The defensive power of their skin and flesh was not something that human cultivators could compare to. I never thought that the Qilin lion would still be so powerful even after suffering such serious injuries. Xiao Hei's expression was ugly and somber. She never thought that this creature would be so difficult to deal with despite its hideous appearance. Fortunately, we encountered it when it was severely injured. If it had been at its peak, we would have died before we even had the chance to speak. Di Beichen's expression darkened. If it had not been for this situation, they would not have had the chance to put their lives on the line. However, the Qilin lion did not intend to give them any time to catch their breath. Immediately after, it launched another attack. Compared to the previous two attacks, this one was undoubtedly more powerful. Bailey Hongzhuang could sense a thick murderous aura from the sharp and cold attack. This was a threat to their lives. If they were not careful, they could very well be killed by this attack. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen unleashed their full powers. Vigorous inner energy flowed out from their bodies endlessly, forming into powerful martial techniques. White Lion clearly knew that they could not allow this to continue. Otherwise, their master would be exhausted to death by the Qilin lion. Let's think of a way to ambush it. The Qilin lion's cultivation level was much higher than theirs. Its attacks were not something that they could easily defend against. Hence, the only thing they could do was to ambush it from close range. Although this was more dangerous, there was no other way except for this dangerous method. Xiao Hei, Xiao Bai, and Xiao Xuanzi nodded and followed White Lion's instructions. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen tried their best to attract the Qilin lion's attention while White Lion took the opportunity to ambush them. However, even though the Qilin lion was fighting with Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Xuanzi, its attention had never once left White Lion. Although White Lion's cultivation was only at the Starlight Realm, it was still a beast king. The Qilin lion did not dare to let its guard down in front of the king of demonic beasts since ancient times. No matter what era the beast king was in, it could not be underestimated. This was a great opportunity for it. If it were to fail miserably because of this, it would not be worth it. Under such circumstances, Baisher's expression was extremely ugly. If this continued, the situation would only get worse. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's injuries were increasing. The two of them did not hesitate to take the healing medicine, and their injuries were quickly healing. However, compared to the speed of the injuries, the healing speed was clearly slower. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other and said, "We can't go on like this. We'll only be suppressed by him and won't be able to take the initiative." Although they had already expected this situation, when they actually fought, the situation was obviously worse than they thought. At this moment, she could not help but feel that they were really lucky to have not clashed with cultivators who were well versed in elemental powers. Otherwise, based on their previous methods, it would not have been easy for them to win. Even though they had fully activated their blood aura and murderous aura, they were still at a disadvantage. She secretly decided that if she could survive today, she must quickly comprehend the cultivation method of elemental powers. Chapter 4509. Elemental energy is much stronger than normal elemental energy. Even though we are not familiar with the use of elemental energy, we can still try using it. Perhaps we can turn the tables around. Di Beichen's dark eyes shone with a complicated and persistent light. His voice was low and serious. This was a method that they could try now. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. It had not been long since she had obtained the light elemental energy cultivation method. Furthermore, she had been recuperating for a long time. Hence, she did not have a good grasp of the light elemental energy. However, there was no better way than this. Since elemental energy was much stronger than normal elemental energy, it might be useful if she used it. Alright, let's give it a try. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang changed her hand gesture. The light elemental energy flashed from her hand. The rich light elemental energy emitted a dazzling white light. Under Bailey Hongzhuang's control, the light elemental energy condensed into a white ball and attacked the Qilin lion beast without hesitation. The Qilin lion beast had thought that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen had not cultivated elemental energy. It was stunned when it saw this scene. It's the light elemental energy. The Qilin lion beast's eyes flashed with surprise. It did not expect this young man to have mastered the light elemental energy. However, it was obvious that this cultivator had not cultivated the light elemental energy for long. This kind of light ball would not be able to do much damage to it. The Qilin lion beast opened its mouth and a golden energy shot out, destroying the light ball immediately. At the same time, Di Beichen also released his dark elemental energy. He had inherited the dark elemental energy. Even though it had not been long since his elemental energy transformed into the dark elemental energy, he had a much deeper understanding of it. As the dark elemental energy continued to surge, Bailey Hongzhuang and the four beasts were shocked to see that the originally bright sky was suddenly covered in darkness. Everything around them was so dark that they could not even see their own fingers. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang took the opportunity to release her dark elemental energy to help Di Beichen set up the darkness. When the Qilin lion saw the dark energy, it was even more shocked. Among all the attributes, the 5 elements were the most common. The possibility of awakening a mutated attribute was very small. It did not expect the 2 people in front of it to have mutated attributes. Moreover, they were light and darkness. White Lion and Xiao Bai immediately unleashed their powers of darkness. With Di Beichen's strength, it was clearly very taxing for him to create such a large area of darkness. With the appearance of the darkness, the Qilin lion's vision was blocked. On the other hand, Di Beichen, Bailey Hongzhuang, White Lion, and Xiao Bai all had dark attributes. Hence, even though their vision was covered in darkness, they could still see clearly without any hindrance. They only felt that under the shroud of darkness, everything was so clear, even clearer than before when they used their eyes to see. Even if you use this power of darkness to affect my vision, what use is it to you? The Qilin lion sneered. In its eyes, Di Beichen and the others were just putting up a desperate struggle. This kind of darkness could only affect its vision, but it could not completely blind it. A mantis trying to stop a chariot, a fool's dream. Chapter 45:10. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest could not be bothered with the Qilin lion's taunting words. They were indeed at a disadvantage, but as long as they seized the opportunity, they would definitely kill the Qilin lion. With just one look, Bailey Hongzhuang had already understood Di Beichen's idea and immediately attacked the Qilin lion again. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to sneak attack it, the Qilin lion's eyes became more and more sarcastic. Sneak attacks were indeed a method, but when the difference in strength between the two was too great, it was meaningless. So what if its reaction speed was slower? Bailey Hongzhuang still could not attack it. When Bailey Hongzhuang made her move, Di Beichen also made his move. He merged his body into the darkness. This was one of the uses of the dark power, concealment. He had not set up this darkness to stop the Qilin lion beast, but to hide himself. Only in this way a sneak attack was the most suitable. Baisher's movements were also extremely fast. As a beast king, it had a unique ability to cultivate and understand. Previously, it had only heard Di Beichen mention the concealment method of the dark power. At this moment, seeing Di Beichen use it, it also succeeded in merging itself into the darkness. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 3 beasts did their best to attack the Qilin lion. What they wanted to do was to attract all the attention of the Qilin lion so that it could not find Di Beichen and Baisher. Bailey Hongzhuang and the 3 beasts continued to attack, sometimes left and sometimes right, making it impossible for the Qilin lion to judge. Noticing this scene, the Qilin lion's eyes flashed with anger and impatience. Previously it had lost an eye in the battle. Now it only had one eye left and its vision was blocked. Although Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' attacks did not cause too much damage to it, it felt like a few flies were constantly flying in front of it. It was harmless but extremely annoying. Suddenly the Qilin lion attacked Bailey Hongzhuang and the 3 beasts. It wanted to completely destroy these annoying guys. Bailey Hongzhuang and the 3 beasts were always paying attention to the Qilin lion's movements. When they saw it flying towards them, they quickly retreated. Their original intention was not to defeat the Qilin lion, but to disturb it. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang and the Qilin lion were entangled, a figure suddenly flashed out of the darkness, followed by an extremely bright light in front of the Qilin lion's eyes. Bright and resplendent light quietly flashed in this dense darkness, blooming with extreme brilliance that almost caused people's eyes to stagnate for a moment. The Qilin lion beast instinctively closed its eyes. It had just gotten used to the darkness, and now that it was suddenly exposed to light, it was extremely uncomfortable. Taking advantage of the Qilin lion's pause, Di Beichen quickly pressed the light ball in his hand into the Qilin lion's eye. The Qilin lion only felt a strong threat and its body quickly retreated. However, Di Beichen's reaction was also extremely fast. He had already thought of all the countermeasures at the moment of the sneak attack. From the moment he made his move, he was determined to win. Zila. A sound rang out. Di Beichen had succeeded. The light ball had been pressed into the Qilin lion's other eye. Ah. Chapter 45:11. Seeing that Di Beichen had succeeded, Bailey Hongzhuang and the four beasts' eyes flashed with excitement. Since the beginning of the battle, they had been at a disadvantage and had been completely suppressed by the Qilin lion. Now that Di Baichen had destroyed the Qilin lion's other eye, the Qilin lion's condition had worsened. At the very least, the Qilin lion was now completely blind. Although it could still sense its surroundings with its divine consciousness, its surroundings were filled with their dark energy and its divine consciousness was blocked. This was good news for them. The Qilin lion covered its bleeding eye. It never thought that it would fail miserably at such an easy task and be ambushed by Di Baichen. Now it had become completely blind. How hateful. You deserve to die. All of you deserve to die. The Qilin lion roared angrily. Its roar was filled with a strong sense of oppression and anger. It had been blinded in one of its eyes by these people who had completely disregarded it. What a disgrace. Since you've made me look like this, I must kill the Beast King and take over its body to become the next Beast King. However, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest were not bothered by the Qilin lion's threat. The Qilin lion had been planning to do this all along. Now the situation had not changed at all. On the contrary, they had finally earned some interest. Just as the Qilin lion was raging, Bai Shi's figure quietly appeared from the darkness. He attacked the Qilin lion's waist with his claws. This ugly fellow still wants to take over my body? Dream on. At the same time, the Qilin lion felt a strong sense of threat. It flew away and its reaction speed increased to the maximum. Bai Shi's attack came stealthily. However, even though the Qilin lion dodged quickly, it did not manage to slice open its stomach. It only managed to slice off a piece of flesh from its waist. Although the Qilin lion's body was very strong, Bai Shi's claws were as sharp as a magical weapon. Under his attack, the Qilin lion's body was no different from an ordinary person's. The Qilin lion's face turned extremely ugly as it felt the excruciating pain in its waist. Only now did it understand why Di Baichen had used his dark energy. It was still in shock. If it had not reacted quickly enough, Bai Shi's claws would have torn its body apart. It did not expect these few Starlight State cultivators to be so powerful when they joined forces. They were much more powerful than the Starlight State cultivators and demonic beasts that it had usually encountered. It no longer dared to underestimate Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, because if it went on like this, it was likely to lose its life in the hands of these guys. It would not only be a joke, it would be an unbearable humiliation. I never thought that I would underestimate you. The Qilin lion beast's voice was cold and menacing, but it was more of a stare. From now on, Baichen, I'll give you a chance. It Chen Lion's aura, its auras, its. Noticing the change in the Qilin lion beast, Di Baichen and Bailey Hongzhuang's hearts sank. Chapter 45:12. Initially, the Qilin lion beast had treated Bailey Hongzhuang and the others as playthings that it could not resist. Hence, it had been toying with them, enjoying the sight of them slowly losing their strength and despair. However, it did not expect that these ants in its eyes would actually blind its other eye. This was something that it could not tolerate. It wanted to end this battle as soon as possible so that these ants would all die. Rustle, rustle, rustle. A rain of golden blades enveloped Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. The Qilin lion beast had no intention of dealing with them one by one. It had used an area of effect attack and wanted to leave these fellows with 1,000 holes in their bodies. Noticing this attack, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' expressions changed greatly. This attack was much more powerful than any of the Qilin lion beast's previous attacks. Watch out! Di Baichen shouted. At the same time, he released his dark energy and formed a large net over their heads, blocking the rain of golden blades. The golden blades rained down, bringing with them an unparalleled sharpness as they charged into the dark net. Bailey Hongzhuang and the beasts quickly used their elemental energy to fill up the dark net. However, despite their best efforts, many golden blades still managed to pierce through the dark net and land on them. In a short period of time, many more wounds appeared on their bodies. The faint smell of blood filled the air. The two humans and the four beasts were battered and exhausted. However, their eyes were still bright and their unyielding fighting spirit was still burning brightly, never extinguished. Seeing that its golden blades had not taken their lives, the Qilin lion beast's expression turned ugly. Under normal circumstances, an ant like this could be easily killed. However, these fellows were not as simple as they seemed. Just the fact that they had been able to last so long against the Qilin lion beast was already a feat. Just as the rain of golden blades dissipated, Di Baichen and the others' attacks began to circle around the Qilin lion beast once again. Indeed, they were no match for the Qilin lion beast. Their only option was to ambush its vital points and injure it severely. At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang took a few steps back and formed another hand seal. However, the hand seal this time was different from before. It was filled with a mysterious and unusual power. Complex runes quietly took shape, and a shining door quietly appeared on the ground. Immediately after, a powerful aura lingered from this door. Feeling this strong power, both Di Beichen and the Qilin lion beast could not help but look towards Bailey Hongzhuang. In their line of sight, a giant centipede suddenly appeared. Its huge body stood up and cast a huge shadow. Bailey Hongzhuang looked extremely small in front of it. Di Beichen looked at the sudden appearance of the centipede in shock. Although Bailey Hongzhuang had told him about this scene before, it was far from the shock of seeing it with his own eyes. His heart was already in turmoil. What kind of method was this? He had never heard of such a shocking technique. Even though he was just casually sensing it, he could tell that this centipede was also at the nebula realm. The Qilin lion beast, who had the upper hand, was now dumbfounded. Such a strong aura. If it was at its peak, it might be able to put up a fight. However, it was now severely injured and was definitely not a match for this centipede. It did not have the time to think about how Bailey Hongzhuang had managed to get such a powerful beast here. It made a prompt decision and retreated. Chapter 45:13. Kill it. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was icy cold. Previously, the Qilin lion had been bent on killing them. Now that they had the upper hand, she would not let the Qilin lion off so easily. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's command, the giant centipede quickly chased after the Qilin lion. Although the centipede was huge, its speed was not slow at all. At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest quickly chased after the Qilin lion. The Qilin lion was very beneficial to White Lion's advancement. Now that the Qilin lion's defeat was certain, they could not let go of this great opportunity. Indeed, when Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest caught up to them, the Qilin lion was constantly retreating. It was clearly no match for the giant centipede. I'll give you all of the purple dawn dream lotus. Please let me live. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest had arrived, the Qilin lion quickly begged for mercy. It had thought that these fellows were just insignificant ants. It did not expect them to have such heaven-defying means. If it had known this earlier, it would never have chosen to leave these fellows alive. Unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Why didn't you let us off when we said that? Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. In this world, power was everything. She would be an idiot if she were to let the Qilin lion go. Furthermore, the Qilin lion was very helpful to White Lion. Hearing this, the Qilin lion's heart sank. It looks like it was doomed today. White Lion looked at the Qilin lion with a burning gaze. I will absorb the power of your bloodline and increase the speed of my advancement. If it had not been for the Qilin lion's evil intentions, it would never have thought of this. However, now that such an opportunity had been placed in front of it, it would not let it go. Master, don't kill the Qilin lion. I want to absorb the power of its bloodline while it's still alive, White Lion said. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. When the giant centipede had beaten the Qilin lion until it was covered in wounds and unable to retaliate, she finally stopped the giant centipede. Then she turned to look at White Lion. White Lion immediately understood and walked to the Qilin lion's side. The Qilin lion beast's eyes were filled with fear as it watched White Lion approach. Don't you dare absorb the power of my bloodline. Once the Qilin lion had its bloodline power, it would become a tool for White Lion's advancement. And it would never be reincarnated. Why didn't you say that when you wanted to take over my body? White Lion was taken aback. He grabbed the Qilin lion beast's dantian with his claws. Then a mysterious rune appeared and a blood-red energy flowed from the Qilin lion beast's dantian into the rune. The Con lion lion's on, but it on, it was on it on it knew what to do no. They had. Hongzhuang lion knew what it on lion was on beyond. After the giant centipede had completed its task, Bailey Hongzhuang drew another rune and the giant centipede disappeared into thin air. My dear wife, this summoned centipede looks like the one we killed in the desert world? Di Beichen's pitch-black eyes sparkled. This kind of summoning was really too powerful. As long as they could summon, they would have a nebula realm helper. Their strength would undoubtedly increase by a lot. Chapter 45:14. At that time, she had suddenly understood something that she had never understood. If it were not for the crisis at that time, she was afraid that she would have needed a period of time to study it thoroughly. Master, is there a limit to summoning this monster beast? Xiaohei could not help but ask. If there was no limit, then this was really a terrifying method. However, Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. Actually, I can't summon it 100% successfully at the moment. As soon as she said this, Di Beichen and the three beasts looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, waiting for her to continue. When the Qilin monster beast appeared previously, I also tried to summon it, but it was not successful. From the moment the Qilin monster beast appeared, she knew that they were in danger and wanted to summon it. Moreover, she came here to train herself and wanted to try to summon it. However, she tried to condense a hand sign, but did not get the result she wanted. When I tried to summon it again just now, I found that the summoning has something to do with my divine sense. I need to have enough divine sense to summon it, and if my divine sense is not stable enough, the summoning will not succeed. The success of the first summoning was a coincidence. Now when she tried to summon it again she found these problems. When the Qilin lion beast first appeared, because her state was not stable, the summoning failed. I see. Di Beichen nodded. In his opinion, this summoning must have certain requirements. If there were no requirements, then it would be really strange. With my current divine sense, I can only summon it once. It is impossible to summon a second monster beast. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was filled with helplessness. She had only summoned once, but she had already felt that her spiritual power had been consumed. Although it was not a big problem now, it would take some time to replenish her divine sense. After all, the recovery of divine sense was not as fast as primary energy, and it was much slower. This ability is already very heaven-defying. Di Beichen said slowly. Divine sense will slowly grow as your strength increases. As long as your divine sense is strong enough, you will be able to summon more monsters in the future. Although Bailey Hongzhuang could only summon one demonic beast at the moment, they were all very clear that this ability was definitely a great weapon. At the very least, they had the ability to fight even if they encountered a Nebula Realm powerhouse. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. She was pleasantly surprised by this discovery. This ability could be said to be an additional layer of protection for them. While they were talking, Baisher had successfully absorbed the Qilin lion beast's bloodline power. When they looked at the Qilin lion again, it was already dead. On the contrary, Baisher's body exuded an extremely powerful force. Master, I've just absorbed the bloodline power of the Qilin lion beast. I'm afraid I'll have to go into seclusion for a while, White Lion said slowly. The Qilin lion beast was a mythical beast and its cultivation level was higher than his. Now that he had absorbed the Qilin lion beast's energy, it was undoubtedly a great supplement. However, digesting this power was not something that could be done in a short period of time. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Don't worry and go into seclusion. They were looking forward to seeing how much progress White Lion would make when he came out of seclusion. Just thinking about it, they knew that the progress would not be small. Chapter 45:15. Mystical beasts had their own territories. The Qilin lion beast's level was so high that its territory was even more vast. Although the Qilin lion beast's corpse had fallen, they still did not have to worry. No mystical beast would dare to step into the Qilin lion beast's territory in a short period of time. Therefore, while the White Lion beast was cultivating in seclusion, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were healing their wounds. They had entered this place and would need at least 3 days to leave. However, they were not in a hurry to leave. Bailey Hongzhuang entered the center of the lake again. Previously, she was worried that there would be danger here, so she had hurriedly left after plucking the purple dawn dream lotus. Now that the Qilin lion beast had been beheaded, she could dig up the purple dawn dream lotus along with the purple dawn dream lotus. The purple dawn dream lotus was also a treasure. Its effect was very similar to the purple dawn dream lotus, but its uses were more extensive. Since she was here, she naturally would not miss out on such a treasure. After Bailey Hongzhuang entered the center of the lake, it was not long before she plucked the purple dawn dream lotus. Our luck is not bad. This purple dawn dream lotus has a total of 3 segments. If we succeed in refining pills, we can refine a lot of them. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was full of joy. When she saw the purple dawn dream lotus, she felt very excited because it was helpful in improving her consciousness. However, since she knew that the mystical beast she wanted to summon was also related to her consciousness, she was even happier. With these pills, she would be able to improve her divine sense. If she could summon more mystical beasts in the future, their combat effectiveness would be greatly enhanced. Since coming to the upper realm, they were treading on thin ice because there were too many masters here. Once they offended a master, they would be doomed eternally. Now that they had such means, if they could improve a little more, even if they encountered an assassin like before, they would not fall into such a helpless situation. The primary energy in this forest world is quite abundant. Maybe there will be a lot of treasures here. We can come here often in the future. Di Beichen's lips curled into a faint smile. He could feel Bailey Hongzhuang's happiness. In the past, when they were in the desert world and the ocean world, they didn't gain much. In comparison, the forest world's harvest was much higher. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Indeed, this place is not much different from the forest outside. At the same time, we can save a lot of time. This is undoubtedly the best choice for us now. After taking the medicine, Bailey Hongzhuang's men recovered quickly. Although the Qilin lion beast's attack was fierce, most of their injuries were superficial and not fatal. The elemental energy in the Qilin lion beast's residence is extremely dense. If one cultivates here, the speed of improvement will be faster. Why don't you all cultivate here for a while? I'll take this opportunity to refine some pills. Now that she already had the Purple Dawn Dream Lotus and Purple Dawn Dream Lotus, she also happened to have other medicinal herbs. He could take advantage of this opportunity to refine the spirit tempering pill. The sooner he improved his divine sense, the sooner he could improve his strength. After all, only strength was his own. The demonic beasts in this forest world were much stronger than the ones they had encountered before. They had to increase their strength as soon as possible in order to survive. Okay. Di Beichen nodded. Chapter 45:16. Although it had been a while since she refined pills, Bailey Hongzhuang's alchemy skills had long been integrated into her mind. Now that she was refining pills again, she was extremely skilled. She did not immediately start refining the spirit tempering pill. The spirit tempering pill was a grade 7 pill, so it was naturally difficult to refine. However, she was still full of confidence in herself. The improvement of alchemy skills was related to cultivation. The higher one's cultivation, the stronger one's divine sense, and the easier it would be to refine pills. She believed that as long as she was given some time to adapt, she would be able to successfully refine grade 7 pills. Then, Bailey Hongzhuang took out some medicinal herbs needed to refine grade 6 pills. Refining grade 6 pills was not a problem for her, but she needed to familiarize herself with refining them. One by one, Bailey Hongzhuang put the medicinal herbs into the pill furnace. She focused her mind and looked calm. Her hands performed alchemy skills as if she was picking flowers. The impurities of the medicinal herbs were quickly removed and turned into an extremely pure medicinal liquid essence. As soon as her alchemy skills changed, the medicinal liquid essence began to condense. Not long after, a strong medicinal fragrance spread out from the pill furnace, making Di Beichen and the 3 beasts who were cultivating feel refreshed. Looking at the 12 grade 6 recovery pills in the pill furnace, Bailey Hongzhuang revealed a satisfied smile. These grade 6 recovery pills could restore the origin power of Starlight Realm and even Nebula Realm cultivators, but the higher one's level, the lower the effect of the recovery. This kind of consumption-type medicinal pill was always in high demand no matter when. Since coming to the upper realm, Bailey Hongzhuang had seen all kinds of strong cultivators here, and only then did she realize how small they were. Under such circumstances, they must improve their cultivation as soon as possible. Pills were undoubtedly a great tool to improve one's strength. The higher the grade of the pill, the more helpful it was to them. Not only that, spirit stones could help them cultivate, but they only had low-grade spirit stones before. As far as she knew, the cultivation effect of middle-grade and high-grade spirit stones was far superior to low-grade spirit stones. If possible, she hoped to use these pills to exchange for high-grade spirit stones. After all, nothing was more important to them than increasing their strength. After refining the first batch of pills, Bailey Hongzhuang did not stop. Instead, she continued to refine the second batch of pills. With her current ability, refining these pills could be said to be effortless. Even if she refined them consecutively, it wouldn't affect her at all. Moreover, she had planned to refine pills here in peace for the next few days. Just as they thought, the Qilin lion beast was quite famous in this area. Even though the Qilin lion beast had fallen, no other demonic beasts dared to approach this area. On the contrary, the origin energy here was extremely dense, exceeding their imagination. When they'd first arrived in the upper realm, they'd noticed that the origin energy in the upper realm was extremely abundant. However, the origin energy here was clearly denser than the upper realm. Therefore, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen had already decided to go into seclusion here in the future. Not only was the origin chi here rich, but the time here was also only a third of the time outside. This was undoubtedly the best place for rapid improvement. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. However, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest still showed no signs of leaving. Chapter 45:17. At the very least, they couldn't move Bai Shi as they wished at this moment. It would be terrible if their actions affected Bai Shi. They were also worried about leaving Bai Shi here alone. Xiren and the rest have just gone to the various large guilds to collect their cultivation methods. They must be in seclusion for the next few days. We are not in a hurry to go out. Di Beichen walked to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. There were many elixir bottles beside her. Obviously, these were the results of Bailey Hongzhuang's refinement over the past 3 days. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly and nodded. I'm afraid they are trying their best to convert their elemental energy into elemental energy. I'm afraid they won't be coming out anytime soon. Let's take this opportunity to cultivate here. The elemental energy here is very dense. I should be able to break through in 2 days. Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful face revealed a joyful and excited smile. You're going to break through to the Starlight Realm? Di Beichen nodded. I'm already at the pinnacle of the Starlight Realm. I felt the shackles in the past 2 days. I think I will be able to break through the shackles and break through to the Starlight Realm soon. That's great. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a bright smile like a blooming lotus. Once one broke through to the next realm, the increase in strength would be incomparable to a Starlight Realm cultivator. Wife, the elemental energy here is very dense. Why don't you cultivate here? Di Beichen looked at Di Beichen. It would be a waste not to seize the opportunity in such a suitable place for cultivation. Although I'm refining elixir, my cultivation method has been circulating on its own. My cultivation is also improving. Her pitch-black eyes rippled with a faint radiance. The grade of her demon summoning scripture wasn't something an ordinary cultivation method could compare to. Ever since she could summon demonic beasts, she realized that her demon summoning scripture seemed to have broken through another grade. Her cultivation speed was much faster than before. Although she was wholeheartedly focused on refining elixir, there was still an endless stream of elemental energy entering her dantian and increasing her cultivation invisibly. I see. Di Beichen nodded in understanding. He had long known that Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation method was not ordinary. In fact, there was not a single item in this chaos ring that was simple. He had a heaven's will physique, so his cultivation speed was extremely fast. Although his merit law was outstanding in the lower realms, it couldn't compare to Bailey Hongzhuang's merit law. Wife, why are you concocting so many medicinal pills? Di Beichen looked at the many pills. If Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to familiarize herself with alchemy techniques, she would only need to refine a few batches of pills. However, it was clear that this was not a few batches. I plan to exchange for some cultivation resources that are beneficial to us after we get out. Although we earned some spirit stones when we were in the lower realm, the upper realm also consumed a lot of spirit stones. We have to do our best to make up for it. When they were in the lower realm, they were indeed quite wealthy. However, they did not stay on Penglai Island for long. Naturally, they did not earn many spirit stones. On the contrary, they had a lot of gold coins. However, in the upper realm, the common currency was spirit stones. Gold coins were obviously useless. In the future, they would not be staying in Rome and city all the time. There were many places that needed spirit stones. Moreover, they also needed spirit stones for their cultivation. If they waited until then, they would be extremely depressed. Chapter 45:18. Wife, I didn't think the heavy responsibility of earning spiritual stones would fall on your shoulders. I am ashamed. Di Beichen's eyes were deep and ashamed. Originally, he should be the one to take care of this, but in reality, Bailey Hongzhuang had always been the one in charge of this. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and waved her hand. The art of alchemy is something I have never planned to give up. Even on a normal day, I have to practice alchemy myself. Right now, I am only using these dawn to exchange for what we need. It is only right. I didn't think I would find a rich woman. Di Beichen chuckled. Bailey Hongzhuang playfully raised her eyebrows. Then you have to coax me well. Otherwise, if I am not happy, you will become a pauper. Of course. Di Beichen nodded. Why don't I serve you well after we go back? Seeing the flirtatious look in Di Beichen's eyes and the naughty smile on his lips, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood what he was talking about. She blushed and said, That depends on my mood. Wife, don't worry. I will make sure you are in the mood. After joking around, Di Beichen regained his composure. Wife, I have been preparing to study arrays. Arrays? Bailey Hongzhuang was a little surprised. Arrays did have many uses for cultivators. For example, they were often used for spirit gathering arrays, trapping arrays, and killing arrays. The most widely used array was the spirit gathering array. Through the spirit gathering array, one could gather the surrounding spiritual energy into the array. Cultivating in this spirit-gathering array would result in twice the result with half the effort. However, Di Baichen had never come into contact with arrays before. Why would he suddenly want to study arrays? Di Baichen nodded slightly. I received an inheritance about arrays in my inheritance. There are many useful arrays recorded in it. Because I've been busy before, I didn't have time to study it. Now that I have time, I plan to study this array. It should be helpful to us in the future. Not to mention other things, just this spirit-gathering array alone. If he could set up a spirit-gathering array here, then their cultivation speed would definitely increase again. Sure. Bailey Hongzhuang agreed. Since you've obtained this inheritance and are interested in it, don't waste it. Although many people believed that it was best for cultivators to focus on the path of cultivation, and studying other things would only delay their own cultivation, Bailey Hongzhuang obviously didn't take this point seriously. At least, this point didn't affect her at all. She believed that with Baichen's ability, this wouldn't be a problem either. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang also agreed with his decision, Di Baichen raised his hand and hugged Bailey Hongzhuang. After planting a kiss on her forehead, he sat down beside her and took out the array Dao to study. Looking at Di Baichen seriously studying beside her, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips unconsciously overflowed with a happy and sweet smile. Even if it was just sitting side by side with Baichen like this, she already felt very happy. After Di Baichen started to study arrays, he immersed himself wholeheartedly. In the past, when he didn't know much about arrays, he didn't feel it. After going deep into it, he discovered that arrays were so mysterious. He couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. It was really too mysterious. Chapter 45:19. Looking at the purple cloud dream lotus in front of her, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with bright light. With the materials she currently had, she could only refine one furnace of spirit tempering pills, so she must not fail. This spirit tempering pill had many benefits, and the purple cloud dream lotus was a rare and precious medicinal material. It would be a pity to waste it. She had already made up her mind. If she could successfully refine this furnace of spirit tempering pills, she would retreat here for a while to improve her divine sense. In fact, she also understood that the time she could summon the beast was also related to her divine sense. If her divine sense was not enough, the beast she summoned could leave at any time. This was her big trump card and she should try her best to improve it. After she came out, she would buy more medicinal materials. Di Baichen was immersed in array Dao at the moment, but he still lacked some materials, otherwise he couldn't help but start to set up arrays. The three beasts also knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was about to start refining spirit tempering pills, so they kept a certain distance from her and did not disturb her. As Bailey Hongzhuang began refining, the medicinal materials were refined into medicinal essences under her control. It was not until she began to refine the purple cloud dream lotus that her movements slowed down a little. This did not mean that refining the purple cloud dream lotus was difficult for her, she just had to be more cautious. The higher the grade of medicinal materials, the more difficult it was to refine, and she wanted to improve the purity as much as possible. The higher the purity, the better the effect of the pill. Now she needed a strong divine sense, so it was excellent to have a better effect. As she slowly refined, the impurities in the purple cloud dream lotus became less and less, and its purity became higher and higher. It was not until the purity was refined to the limit of her ability that Bailey Hongzhuang condensed the pill. Not long after, the three beasts smelled a strong pill fragrance. This pill fragrance made them feel refreshed, as if all their fatigue disappeared in an instant, and their divine sense seemed to be purified. Even Di Baichen, who was immersed in array Dao, couldn't help but look over after feeling his divine sense being purified. "Wife, did you successfully refine the spirit tempering pill?" Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and nodded. "Yes, it has been successfully refined. There are a total of 12 pills in this furnace. It should be able to improve our divine sense. I'm preparing to enter seclusion. Just focus on your closed-door training," Di Baichen replied. "Don't worry about anything else. This place was extremely safe. Compared to the Azure Dragon School, this place was more suitable for seclusion." Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't delay. After adjusting her state, she took a spirit tempering pill and went into seclusion. Under such a dense elemental energy environment, Xiao Xuanzi was the first to break through. Its cultivation was the lowest, so its breakthrough speed was also the fastest. After little Xuanzi broke through, Xiao He and Xiao Bai also broke through one after another. This place was really too suitable for cultivation. No wonder the Qilin lion beast was able to raise its cultivation to such an extent. It actually found such a good place to make its cave abode. Xiaohei couldn't help but sigh. Thinking about it, no matter who stayed in this place for a long time, their cultivation wouldn't be bad. If White Lion had also cultivated in such a place before, its strength would definitely be higher than the Qilin Lion beast. But now this place is ours. I'm more curious about how much White Lion's strength will increase after devouring the Qilin Lion beast's bloodline power. Chapter 45-20. 7 days later, Bailey Hongzhuang finally opened her eyes. Her elegant and beautiful face revealed a surprised smile. Beichen, this spirit-tempering pill really has the effect of improving one's divine sense. My divine sense has improved significantly. As an alchemist, her divine sense was stronger than ordinary cultivators. However, her divine sense was still not enough to summon a demonic beast. After taking the spirit-tempering pill, her divine sense had expanded a lot. If she wanted to summon a demonic beast before, she would definitely be able to do so now. Seeing the surprise on Bailey Hongzhuang's face, Di Beichen's lips curved into a faint smile. The spirit-tempering pill is a 7th grade pill. It's naturally very effective. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded lightly. Indeed, not to mention the fact that the spirit-tempering pill was a 7th grade pill, the Purple Dawn Dream Lotus was also an extremely rare treasure. Naturally, its effects would not be bad. Is the White Lion still asleep? Bailey Hongzhuang looked not far away. Sure enough, the White Lion was still asleep. The Qilin Lion's level is not low. Its bloodline power must be very strong. The White Lion will not be able to absorb its power to complete its evolution in a short period of time, Di Beichen said slowly. It seems that we will have to stay here for a long time, Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. Yingying and the others probably don't know what we are doing. Previously they only planned to stay here for a day, so they did not inform them at all. They did not expect something like this to happen. Master, you can go out. The 3 of us will stay here and guard the White Lion. Nothing will happen, Xiaohei said. There is the aura of the Qilin Lion here, and now there is the aura of the Beast King. As long as it is not a brainless demonic beast, it will not be able to come here, Xiaobai added. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other and said, "Then let's go out first?" Di Beichen thought about it and nodded, "Okay." Their most important goal in coming to Rome and City this time was to find out who sent the assassins to attack them. Before they figured this out, they could not be at ease at all. Only by figuring out who the opponent was could they be prepared. They did not want to run around blindly like a fly. That was not what they wanted. "Master, you can go out without worry," Xiao Xuanzi smiled. "We can use the Yuan energy here to improve our strength." Xiaohei Xiaohei, the weakest among the demonic beasts. Now that it had been suppressed by everyone, it wanted to improve its strength as soon as possible. As soon as possible. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen smiled faintly. They also understood Xiao Xuanzi's thoughts. "Hey Beichen, you." Was Hey Hongzhuang hey? Noticing the sudden change in Bailey Hongzhuang's expression, Di Beichen could not help but ask, "Wife, what's wrong?" It seems that the White Dragon has awakened. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. Ever since she brought the White Dragon out of the dark ruins, it had been in a coma. Later, she also checked on the White Dragon's condition. Because the damage was not small, it needed some time to recover. If the White Dragon had not saved her and brought her to the upper realm, she would have died. Chapter 45-21. Upon hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Di Beichen and the 3 beasts were overjoyed. After sleeping for so long, the White Dragon has finally awakened. Xiaohei could not help but sigh. "You guys rest here. I'll go out and check on the White Dragon." "All right." The next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen left the forest world and returned to the Great Hall in the Chaos Ring. Sure enough, as soon as they returned to the Great Hall, they saw the awakened White Dragon. The White Dragon was very happy to see Bailey Hongzhuang. "You're not dead after all." Upon hearing the White Dragon's words, Bailey Hongzhuang understood that their previous judgment was right. The reason she could come to the upper realm was because of the White Dragon's help. "Thank you for saving me." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and thanked the White Dragon. She was really grateful to the White Dragon for saving her from that crisis. Otherwise, she would have turned into a speck of dust by now. The White Dragon waved its hand. "It wasn't easy for me to find a master. If you were to die just like that, I would be dead too. So saving you is also saving myself." Di Beichen had long known about the White Dragon's existence. However, after sensing the White Dragon's powerful aura at this moment, he could not help but sigh in his heart. The Dragon clan was indeed blessed by the heavens. They were all powerful existences. At the same time, the white dragon also noticed Di Beichen's existence and could not help but show a hint of surprise in its eyes. Your power gives me a very familiar feeling, Yi Zichen said. As soon as the white dragon's voice fell, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were both stunned. The white dragon was the dragon of light. How could it be familiar with the power of darkness? The power of darkness? Di Beichen was also a little surprised. However, he quickly understood. You were in the darkness ruins before. It's normal for you to be familiar with the power of darkness. No. The white dragon thought about it and shook its head. It should be that your aura gives me a familiar feeling. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were puzzled. The white dragon had never seen Di Beichen before. Logically speaking, it should not be familiar with him. However, they did not doubt the white dragon's words. White dragon, why do you feel familiar with Beichen's aura? Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but ask. The white. These memories. I can't remember it. 1. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang also sighed. She already knew that the white dragon had such a problem. Beichen. But. The white. The white. The white, the white, the white, the white. There. Don't think about it if you can't remember. Bailey Hongzhuang saw that the white dragon was still stubbornly trying to recall. You've just woken up. Don't hurt yourself. All right. The white dragon was helpless. It always felt that many things were right in front of its eyes, but it could not remember them. It was really depressing. It tried to think about it in detail, but in the end, it did not gain anything other than a splitting headache. Instead of tormenting itself like this, it would be better to cultivate in peace. It believed that these memories would slowly recover in the future. Bailey Hongzhuang was very happy to see the white dragon's carefree attitude. Chapter 45-22. Although the white dragon had awakened, it was not in a very good state right now, so Bailey Hongzhuang asked the white dragon to meet up with Baishir and the others. The elemental energy in the forest world was abundant, so the white dragon should be able to recover faster if it cultivated there. The white dragon agreed with this. Now that it was in the same boat as Xiao He and Xiao Bai, it did not feel uncomfortable or inappropriate. After Bailey Hongzhuang came out of the chaos ring, sure enough, Xiren and the others were looking for them. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguaning had finally opened the door, everyone was relieved. Were you guys in closed-door cultivation before this? Xiren looked at Di Beichen and Shangguaning, who were safe and sound, and felt relieved. Di Beichen nodded. That's right. You scared us to death. You didn't tell us that you were going into closed-door cultivation. We didn't hear from you for a few days, so we thought something had happened. Shangguaning patted her chest and sighed. Ever since they knew that Di Beichen and Shangguaning had an inexplicable enemy here, they had been extremely careful. After all, the other party was very strong. Although they felt that they had been hiding well since they came to Rong and City, no one could be sure that the other party had not found any clues. This time, seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang and Shangguaning had suddenly disappeared, they could not help but worry. We also suddenly went into closed-door cultivation. We didn't expect it to be so long. Bailey Hongzhuang said apologetically. As long as you guys are fine, we can rest assured. These few days we have successfully converted our elemental energy into elemental energy. The upper realm is really different from the lower realm. The cultivation method is also completely different. Xiren's face was filled with a spring breeze smile. What are you guys going to do next? Hearing Xiren's words, Bailey Hongzhuang understood that he wanted to ask them how they could determine who the enemy was. Currently there are 3 suspects, Gong Tianfeng, the Xiao family, and the Di family. Di Beichen's expression became more serious, and his gaze was deep and dignified. The Di family is too far away from us now, so we can only start from the first 2. Although Gong Tianfeng is the vice president of the Holy Assembly and is stronger than us, I don't think she can make such an assassin take action, so I plan to rule out Xiao Rojin. Hearing this, when Xiren and the others also nodded. I'm afraid it won't be easy to get this out of Xiao Rojin's mouth. Whether it was the Xiao family or not, Xiao Rojin would never admit it. Then we'll need eldest senior brother and Hao Miao's help. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. The moon was bright and the stars were sparse. The night was enchanting. Wanyan Han returned to the Raging Flames sect, reeking of alcohol. He happened to run into Xiao Rojin on the way, so he immediately rushed over and blocked her way. Xiao Rojin looked at the person who suddenly blocked her way, and her expression turned cold. She said, Wanyan Han, what are you doing? Wang Yanhan looked at Xiao Rojin with drunken and hazy eyes, but his expression was full of hatred. Xiao Rojin, if you didn't call everyone back, my junior brothers and sisters wouldn't have died. Tell me, were you the one who sent the assassin? You were worried that my junior sister would affect your position, so you deliberately sent the assassin to end them, right? Wang Yanhan grabbed Xiao Rojin tightly with both hands, shook her body and asked, what enmity do they have with you? Why did you do this? Chapter 45-23. They're already dead. Can't you tell me the truth? At the very least, let me know who killed them. Wang Yanhan's eyes reddened, his voice filled with anger and unwillingness. The surrounding disciples all stopped to watch after seeing this scene. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were also influential figures in the Raging Flame school. Everyone more or less knew how they died. Xiao Rojin's actions were indeed very suspicious, but no one expected Wang Yanhan to ask in public. In fact, many cultivators also felt that this matter was inseparable from Xiao Rojin. Bailey Hongzhuang's attribute talent was really too strong, threatening Xiao Rojin's position. Moreover, with the Xiao family's means, they could indeed send such an expert. Noticing the attention of the surrounding people, Xiao Rojin's expression became increasingly unsightly. You lunatic! They're already dead. What's the point of saying this? Xiao Rojin's expression was cold. I didn't do anything at that time. Everyone saw it clearly. If you continue to block me, don't blame me for being impolite. As soon as she finished speaking, Xiao Rojin pushed Wang Yanhan to the side with all the origin energy in her body and quickly left. After Xiao Rojin left, Wang Yanhan stood up with Yi Haomiao's help. Looking at Xiao Rojin's departing figure, a dim light surged in their eyes. Little junior sister and the others are already waiting at Xiao Rojin's residence. Our mission has been completed. Next it's up to them, Wang Yanhan slowly said. Yi Haomiao nodded slightly. They didn't expect Xiao Rojin to tell the truth under such circumstances. However, after such a thing happened, Xiao Rojin would definitely think about it when she returned, and they would also know. As the only light attribute cultivator in the Raging Flame School and with the Xiao family as her backing, Xiao Rojin's position in the Raging Flame School was incomparable to that of other cultivators. Therefore she lived alone. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were waiting for Xiao Rojin's return on the roof. Not long after, Xiao Rojin angrily returned. Miss, what's wrong with you? The maid looked at Xiao Rojin's angry appearance and couldn't help but ask after pouring a cup of water. Xiao Rojin drank the tea in one gulp, then heavily placed the teacup on the table. Only then did she angrily say, that Wang Yanhan is simply a lunatic. He actually stopped me in front of so many people and questioned me if I killed Bailey Hongzhuang. The maid was clearly shocked by this situation. Wang Yanhan is too daring. Even if they were really sent by the family people to take care of them, so what? Could it be that Wang Yanhan would take revenge for them? He really overestimated himself. He drank too much alcohol's crazy. Xiao Rojin's eyes were filled with disgust. Speaking of which, the situation last time was indeed a bit strange. Although I sent the news of Bailey Hongzhuang back to the family, I didn't receive a reply. If it was really the family people who took action, then the family's speed is too fast, isn't it? That Bailey Hongzhuang's talent is astonishing. She's a threat to the main family's eldest young miss who is going to become the Holy Maiden of Light. It's not strange for the family to do this. Alas. Xiao Rojin sighed. The family's decision is not something we can know. However, this Bailey Hongzhuang's death is very much to my liking. She's an eyesore. Chapter 45-24. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen, who were on the roof, saw everything in the room. The two of them looked at each other. They probably wouldn't be able to hear any more useful news, so they immediately left Xiao Rojin's residence. It seems that Xiao Rojin isn't sure if this was done by the Xiao family. The only thing I can be sure of is that the Xiao family doesn't have any good intentions towards me. Bailey Hongzhuang spread out her hands. In fact, when she knew that the eldest daughter of the Xiao family was planning to inherit the position of the Holy Maiden of Light, she had already expected such a situation. After all, she was a cultivator from the lower realm with no foundation. Her talent actually threatened the eldest daughter of a top family. From the family's point of view, naturally, they would not hesitate to choose to wipe out an ant like her. Di Beichen's face darkened. No matter who it was, as long as they dared to have killing intent towards his wife, they deserved to die. This Xiao family isn't anything good either. Their young lady isn't qualified to inherit the position of the Holy Maiden of Light, but they insist on doing so. They even want to wipe out all threats. The deep voice was cold and ruthless. Even though the Xiao family was an existence that they needed to look up to at the moment, he still believed that as their power increased, all of this would not be a problem. Inside the room, when Ziren and the others had been waiting for Bailey Hongzhuang and Ao Lingxiao to return so that they could know the final result. When they heard the footsteps of the two, they hurriedly opened the door and asked, "How is it? Was it done by the Xiao family?" Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. Xiao Rojin herself isn't sure. She's just a branch disciple of the Xiao family and doesn't have any status in the main family. This kind of thing isn't something that she can come into contact with. However, even if those assassins weren't sent by the Xiao family, I'm afraid that it won't be long before the Xiao family sends someone. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Mo Yunjue and the others' faces darkened. They didn't expect that they would already have an opponent like the Xiao family as soon as they came to the upper realm. Xiao Rojin's situation is like this. Why don't we confirm whether Gong Tianfeng is the murderer later? Ao Lingxiao said with a frown. From Bailey Hongzhuang's description, he only felt that this matter was not as simple as it seemed. He always felt that there was a hand reaching out to them, but they still did not know where this hand came from. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. We'll see when the time comes. Ever since Di Xiaofeng received the letter from the Di family, he immediately rushed home. As soon as he arrived, he felt the heavy atmosphere in the family, and his heart immediately sank. Although the contents of the letter had been made clear, he was still unwilling to believe it on the way back. Her brother had been lost for so many years, and it was not easy to find news of him. She did not expect that he would be assassinated. What he found most difficult to accept was that the person who had plotted against Beichen was actually the housekeeper. Ever since he was young, he had always felt that the housekeeper was one of them. Who would have thought that the housekeeper would do such a thing? Di Xiaofeng immediately went to Lin Yunqing's residence. As soon as he entered, Di Xiaofeng saw Di Yujua's figure in the courtyard outside the house and immediately walked over. "Father." Seeing that Di Xiaofeng had returned, Di Yujua's eyes also lit up. "Xiaofeng, you're back." Chapter 45-25. However, ever since Bailey Shi's accident, he had been accompanying Bailey Yunyan in Shuiyun City. If he had returned to the family earlier and found out about this news, he would have been able to help when everyone was looking for Beichen. Things might not have developed to this point. Di Yujue sighed. His handsome face could not hide his grief. "This time I went to the lower realm and finally found Beichen. I never thought that Beichen would have come to the upper realm before me." After Di Yujue explained the ins and outs of the matter clearly, Di Xiaofeng finally understood. However, his expression became even uglier. Di Kaiyuan has gone too far. The Di family has been very good to him for so many years. He actually did something worse than a beast. What did second brother do wrong? He's simply not human to be so cruel and merciless. Di Xiaofeng's face was full of anger and his eyes were slightly red. It was hard to guard against a thief in the family. Back then they had always thought that someone was behind this matter. However, they had always thought that their target was the Di family's opponent. They never thought that the biggest problem would be within the family. Kaiyuan already understood all of this before he died. That's why he sought death on his own. Di Yujue sighed. Your mother was originally very happy when she heard that Beichen was coming back. Who would have thought that she would suffer such a blow now? Her mental state is very bad. You should go and see your mother first. Di Yujue's eyes were filled with grief and worry. It was not easy for the family to be reunited, but in the end, it was an illusion. They had rejoiced for nothing. Lin Yunqing had been very unhappy all these years because of this matter. She was depressed and her health had gradually deteriorated. After this incident, she fell ill and could not recover. No matter how much he comforted her, it was useless. Looking at Lin Yunqing's increasingly pale face and increasingly thin body, his heart really ached. He had already invited the best doctor to take a look at her. Everyone said that it was a mental illness. If Lin Yunqing wanted to treat it, she had to figure it out herself. Otherwise there was no cure. As soon as Di Xiaofeng entered the room, he saw Lin Yunqing's thin and sickly appearance. His expression changed and he quickly walked to Lin Yunqing's side. Mother, what happened to you? Lin Yunqing's eyes lit up when she saw Di Xiaofeng return. Xiaofeng, you're back. Di Xiaofeng nodded. Mother, I've heard about what happened to Beichen. We're all very sad about this, but you have to take care of your body. Hearing that, tears began to roll down from the corners of Lin Yunqing's eyes again. Her red and swollen eyes had clearly been filled with tears the past few days. Your brother's life is so hard. He hasn't used anything from the D family for so many years, but he has to sacrifice his life for the D family. Why is that? Di Xiaofeng sat beside Lin Yunqing and couldn't hide the sadness on his face. We all owe second brother. It wasn't until Di Xiaofeng came out of the room that he understood how bad Lin Yunqing's condition was when Di Yujue said it was. If she continued to be so depressed, he was afraid that Lin Yunqing would. Mother's health was already very bad. Now it's even worse. Di Xiaofeng sighed. Although he tried his best to persuade, it was obviously of no use. Even he found it hard to accept, let alone mother who had always been thinking about second brother. Chapter 45-26. I've already invited the best doctors over, but they're still at their wits' end. Di Yujue frowned, his bright eyes filled with worry. Beichen was already in trouble, he couldn't let anything happen to Yunqing. However, Lin Yunqing couldn't even eat right now. If this continued, how could she live? Hearing this, Di Xiaofeng thought of someone. Father, I met a godly doctor outside this time. I have a friend whose situation is similar to mother's. Something happened that she couldn't accept. She wanted to die and all the doctors were helpless, but that godly doctor cured her. Now that friend of mine is gradually getting better and doesn't want to die anymore. Di Xiaofeng was talking about Bailey Hongzhuang. Ever since he saw Bailey Hongzhuang's methods, he was extremely impressed. Bailey Hongzhuang also had a deep knot in her heart, but it was still untied by Bailey Hongzhuang. If he could find Bailey Hongzhuang, his mother's situation might improve. Oh. Di Yujue's eyes lit up. Who is it? Did she come this time? Di Xiaofeng shook his head. Although I met them, they still have their own matters to attend to, so they left first. Di Yujue's eyes flashed with a trace of disappointment. Then think of a way to find that godly doctor. Your mother's situation isn't optimistic. We can't let her continue like this. Yes. Stay with your mother for this period of time. I'm going to Rong'an City. Di Yujue instructed. Rong'an City? Di Xiaofeng was stunned. Father, why are you going to Rong'an City? According to what Di Kaiyuan said before he died, your brother died in Rong'an City. Although it's unlikely that Di Kaiyuan would lie to us before he died, if I don't go there personally, I won't be satisfied. Di Yujue's eyes flashed with stubbornness and determination. Besides, even if it's true, I have to know the real situation at that time and find all the masterminds to avenge Beichen. Di Kaiyuan was indeed an important figure, but he wouldn't let go of anyone involved in this conspiracy. Father, you're right. At that time, everyone thought that Beichen couldn't be alive, but Beichen is still alive. This time, if we don't see it with our own eyes, we can't trust others like this. Di Xiaofeng nodded. However, I think it's better for you to stay here with mother and let me go to Rong'an City. Following Di Xiaofeng's voice, Di Xiaofeng's, Di Yujue and Di Xiaofeng's? Di Xiaofeng nodded. The godly doctor I'm talking about happens to be in Rong'an City. If I can see her, I'll invite her to treat mother. Di Yujue finally understood. What a coincidence. That's why I was very surprised when I heard father mention Rong'an City. I also wanted to have a chance to see them again, but I didn't expect it to be so soon. Di Yujue thought for a moment and nodded. Since you know them, then you can go to Rong'an City. However, you must investigate Beichen's situation. Father, don't worry, I'll definitely find out. Chapter 45-27. Father, I came back this time to report something to you. Di Xiaofeng's expression was complicated. This matter had always been on his mind. He didn't send a letter before because he was worried that the secret might be leaked. After all, the housekeeper they trusted so much had betrayed the family. No one knew if there were other traitors in the family. If this news was spread, it would be even worse for their situation. Looking at Di Xiaofeng's solemn expression, Di Yujue also frowned. What is it? When I was in Water Cloud City, I was also ambushed by a group of inexplicable black-clothed people. They obviously identified me as their target and used a killing move to take my life. They didn't leave me any leeway. Fortunately, my strength was good and I used all my strength to escape their pursuit. Later I was saved by someone. The godly doctor I mentioned was the person I saved. If it weren't for them, I'm afraid I might not have been able to come back. Di Xiaofeng's words were not exaggerated at all. The forest was full of danger. If he had been in a coma, it wouldn't have been long before he would have been torn to pieces by monsters or skeletons. Therefore, in his eyes, both Situ and Miss Lan had saved his life. Hearing Di Xiaofeng's words, Di Yujue's gaze suddenly froze. A strong murderous aura spread out from his body, filled with anger. Damn it. It's not enough to make a move on Beichen, now they want to make you their target. Di Xiaofeng didn't say much. In fact, his thoughts were the same as Di Yuju's. It was impossible for things to be so coincidental. It was obvious that someone had sent two groups of people. One group to attack Di Beichen and the other to attack him. The goal was to get rid of the two brothers. These guys were really too vicious. They wanted to do things so decisively. Father, since the housekeeper died in front of you, why didn't he confess his accomplices? This was what Di Xiaofeng didn't understand the most. With such a hidden mastermind, they couldn't sleep or eat in peace. Kai Yuan suddenly committed suicide at that time, which was beyond our expectations. No one was able to stop him. I'm still investigating, but I already have a suspect in mind. Di Yuju's eyes darkened. Ever since he learned of this matter, he already had a vague suspect in his heart. It was just that no concrete evidence had been found so far. Who is it? Di Xiaofeng couldn't help but ask. Jun family. Di Yujue gritted his teeth as he said these two heavy words. Even though he didn't have any evidence, he felt that it couldn't be anyone else other than the Jun family. In his eyes, the Jun family had always been two-faced. They looked very friendly on the surface, but the things they did behind the scenes were far beyond one's imagination. The Di family had been oppressed by the Jun family all these years. So, they must have been extremely dissatisfied with the Jun family. Therefore, doing something that would harm the foundation of the Di family would naturally be beneficial to them. As Di Yujue spoke, Di Xiaofeng's expression changed and he calmed down. Father, your guess makes sense. You must be extra careful if you come across any members of the Jun family. Chapter 45-28. They usually act like they don't care, but we all know that this is just on the surface. Di Yujue thought for a moment and said, when you go to Rong and City this time, let the Great Elder go with you and bring a few guards. With them by your side I can be more at ease. We just found out about Kai Yuan's matter. I believe that they won't dare to make a move on you so quickly. We have been investigating closely during this period of time. I believe that they will have some fear. However, you still have to be careful when you go out. Father, don't worry. I will definitely not let anything happen to me. Tell me in detail about the situation when you were being hunted down. I will send people to investigate from this aspect. Di Yujue's face was ashen. These damned bastards had been extending their claws to his son. He only had 2 sons in total. Beichen was very likely to have fallen by now, and those damned bastards had begun to make a move on Xiaofeng. If he did not catch these bastards as soon as possible, how could he relieve the hatred in his heart? All right. After Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen understood the situation from Xiao Rojin, they did not hesitate any longer. After all, the most important thing for them now was to increase their strength. Otherwise, even if they knew who their opponent was, they would not be able to take revenge if they did not have enough strength. Therefore they gathered Xiren and the others and went to the forest world to train together. To them, the forest world was not only a good place to train, but also a good place to cultivate. In that place with dense vitality, using spirit stones to cultivate, the speed was definitely not comparable to ordinary places. When Xiren and Shangguan Yingying found out that it was no longer the ocean world, but the forest world, the two of them could not help but be surprised. The world inside can actually change? Shangguan Yingying found it hard to believe. When she first saw the ocean world, she was already shocked to the extreme. Bailey Hongzhuang's chaos ring was really too abnormal. It could actually appear in such a world on its own and allow them to cultivate. This was a good opportunity that ordinary people could not obtain. However, she didn't expect the scene inside to change. It was truly miraculous. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and nodded. The scenery inside will change as my strength increases, and so will the strength of the demonic beasts. I see. When Xiren immediately understood. If your strength has increased, but the strength of the demonic beasts inside is still the same as before, it will naturally be of no use to you. Exactly. When Xiren and Shangguan Yingying had long known of the existence of this place, so it was fine. However, when Mo Yunjue and Ao Lingxiao saw the brand new world in front of them, they couldn't help but be stunned on the spot. Their hearts were in turmoil and for a moment they didn't know what to say. It was too shocking. This was completely beyond their imagination. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it at all. Mo Yunjue stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in shock. He had always known that Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation had increased so quickly because of her secret. In reality, Every powerful cultivator had their own secret. However, he never thought that this secret would be so great. Chapter 45-29. If news of such a heaven-defying treasure were to spread, it would definitely be fought over by many forces. Needless to say, with Bailey Hongzhuang's current strength, she would not be able to protect this treasure. Therefore, she should not be willing to tell anyone. However, he did not expect that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen would trust him so much that they would even tell him such a big secret. In fact, ever since he met Di Beichen, he was the one who really needed help. On the contrary, he did not help them much. Even so, they still treated him as one of their own. Now they were even telling him such a big secret. It was only at this moment that he understood how much trust they had in him. An indescribable feeling spread in his heart. Humans were like this. The more sincere the other party was to him, the more sincere he would want to be to them. Since Bailey Hongzhuang and the others trusted him so much, he could not let them down. Otherwise he would be too much of a jerk. Ever since such a big incident happened in his family, he could not even trust his own brother. However, here he gained such trust and friendship. To him, nothing was more important than this. Thank you for sharing this secret with me. I swear I will not tell anyone about this. Otherwise, I will be struck by lightning and never reincarnated. Ao Lingxiao's expression was serious and his voice was sincere. These were his heartfelt words. Although Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen had decided to let him come with them, which meant that they trusted him, he still had to explain his thoughts. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other. It seemed that their judgment was not wrong. Ao Lingxiao was indeed a trustworthy person. Lingxiao, we all trust you. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Di Beichen also nodded. We are all good brothers. Originally, Ao Lingxiao had always felt that he was an outsider in this group. However, at this moment, that feeling disappeared without a trace. It turned out that no one had ever treated him as an outsider. An indescribable sense of belonging spread in his heart. Thank you. When Ziren and the others couldn't help but chuckle. Although they did believe in Ao Lingxiao's reaction at this moment made them believe that their judgment was correct. Just as they were talking, the three beasties had already rushed over. Master, you're back. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and nodded. It seems that you've been enjoying your stay here these past few days? Xiao He hurriedly shook her head. Master, if you're not here, how can we live comfortably? Bai Long could not help but shake his head speechlessly when he saw Xiao He's bootlicking expression. Flattery will always work. As soon as he said that, Bailey Hongzhuang and Shengguan Yingying couldn't help but burst into laughter. Xiao He turned her head speechlessly. Even if she was flattering him, this white dragon didn't have to expose her directly, right? This guy's way of doing things was really arrogant. He didn't give her any face at all. Unfortunately, Bai Long was not Xiao Xuanzi who could be bullied at will. This guy's strength was strong, so Bai Long could only hide. Therefore, even though she felt wronged, she could only swallow her anger. After hearing Bai Long's words, Ziren and the others finally noticed Bai Long's existence. A trace of surprise appeared in their eyes. Chapter 45-30. The white dragon was now in human form. She was dressed in a white dress. Her face was outstanding, cute and very beautiful. Although the white dragon had lived for many years, she was still very young when compared to the long lifespan of the dragon clan. She might even be very young. Shengguan Yingying and the others all looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Before this, they had never heard of Bailey Hongzhuang being so familiar with a woman. Looking at everyone's blank faces, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but smile. Actually, she's not human. As soon as these words came out, everyone could not help but be stunned. Their eyes flashed with deep shock as they looked at the white dragon in bewilderment. It was really hard for them to imagine that such a beautiful woman was not human. Noticing everyone's gaze, the white dragon could not help but roll her eyes. I'm not human. I'm from the dragon clan. Ziren and the others breathed a sigh of relief, but then their eyes widened. Dragon clan? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Weren't you wondering why I suddenly disappeared when we were in the darkness ruins? I went to see her. At that time she was trapped in the ruins. Later she recognized me as her master and we came out together. At this time everyone understood. I didn't expect her to be from the dragon clan. Shengguan Yingying's face was full of surprise. Although I've heard of the legends of the dragon clan, I didn't expect to see a real dragon clan one day. Thinking of this, Shengguan Yingying could not help but feel excited. The dragon clan was not something that anyone could meet. Although the dragon clan was very powerful, they were very few in number. Most of them lived in places that humans could not reach, so it was very difficult to meet a dragon clan member. Hong Zhuang, this dragon clan girl, can already transform into a human form. She must be very strong, right? Xiren slowly said. Although it was a question, he was very sure. Only when a monster beast reached a certain level of strength could they transform into a human form. None of the demonic beasts that could transform into human form were simple. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded. Back then, I was ambushed by a cultivator from the Crimson Moon sect. If the white dragon had not saved me and brought me to the upper realm, I would have died back then. If this kind of thing happened to someone else, everyone would feel that it was unbelievable. However, this kind of thing happened to Bailey Hong Zhuang, so everyone was a lot calmer. After all, many unbelievable things had happened to Bailey Hong Zhuang. Usually, a cultivator could only contract with one beast, but for Bailey Hong Zhuang this was not a problem at all. Hong Zhuang, I didn't expect a dragon to become your contracted beast. You're really amazing. Shengguan Yingying held Bailey Hong Zhuang's hand, her pretty face filled with pride. Although the owner of this matter was not her, she was very happy that her good friend could have such an opportunity. Ao Lingxiao did not know what to say at this moment. As expected, Bailey Hong Zhuang was a person with a great opportunity. Not only did she obtain such a heaven-defying divine weapon, but even the dragon clan recognized her as their master. Her future achievements would be limitless. The white dragon saw that everyone was talking about this matter. Although it was one of the main characters, it felt that it had nothing to do with it. It immediately prepared to go back and continue to cultivate. Chapter 45-31. Now that she had finally arrived at a place with rich spiritual energy, she naturally had to seize the time to cultivate. Moreover, her memory was severely damaged. She only hoped that she could regain her memories as soon as possible. Otherwise, she would feel extremely uncomfortable. However, just as Bai Long was about to turn around and cultivate, Shengguan Yingying came to Bai Long's side. Hee. Shengguan Yingying had a flattering smile on her face. She rubbed her hands and looked like she wanted to say something but stopped herself. Bai Long could not help but frown when he saw Shengguan Yingying's expression. He did not know why, but this expression gave him an ominous feeling. Bai Long, Shengguan Yingying slowly said, I've lived for so long and have only heard of the dragon clan in legends. I've never seen a real dragon god. As soon as she said that, the white dragon understood what she meant. Not only Shengguan Yingying but when Xiren and the others also looked curious. They had always thought that the dragon clan was a legendary existence and had never seen their real appearance. If they had the chance, they would really like to see it. Seeing this, Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other. They should have expected this situation. Bai Long, if you don't mind, show your real body and let them see. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled faintly. If you don't want it, then forget it. They will have the chance to see it in the future. Bai Long felt helpless when he heard Bailey Hong Zhuang's words. She meant that even if she did not want to let them see her now, they would see her sooner or later. So why not just let them see her now? Although he could not help but complain in his heart, Bai Long still chose to agree. Bailey Hong Zhuang was right. She was Bailey Hong Zhuang's contracted beast and would naturally follow her. Sooner or later, everyone would see her real body. Moreover, there was nothing that they could not see. All right. In the next moment, Bai Long transformed into her real body and appeared in front of everyone. When the crowd looked at the incomparably huge and exquisite body in front of them, they all felt a sense of shock in their hearts. His true body was dozens of feet long. Standing before this huge dragon, they were simply too small. The dragon's scales reflected a tough and resplendent luster under the sunlight. The smooth lines were graceful and full of power, just like a work of art. The aura exuded by the dragon clan was extremely powerful. Even with their current cultivation, they felt a sense of suffocation when they got close. They all took a few steps back. This was the majesty of the dragon clan. So this is the dragon clan. How shocking! Shengguan Yingying exclaimed. That's right. When I heard about it in the past, I thought that it might be an exaggeration. Now that I've seen it with my own eyes, I feel that what they said is not exaggerated at all. On the contrary, it might be too simple. Ao Lingxiao revealed an amazed expression. No wonder the dragon race had an irreplaceable status among monster beasts. Such monster beasts were indeed peak existences. A moment later, the white dragon returned to its human form. Although she was very satisfied with her image, she was still not used to being stared at like this by everyone. I'll go cultivate first. As she spoke, Bai Long had already moved to the side. She was worried that Shangguan Yingying would make some inexplicable request. Seeing this, Shangguan Yingying could not help but feel a little disappointed. She wanted to know more about the Dragon Clan. Chapter 45-32. When the beasts in the forest world sensed that the Qilin lion's aura had disappeared for many days, many of them became restless and wanted to go in and check it out. After all, the Qilin lion had occupied an extremely good territory. Not only did it have an abundance of vital energy, the environment was beautiful, and most importantly, it had the purple dream lotus. Normally, the Qilin lion would release its aura every once in a while. Hence, the other beasts did not dare to go near it. However, in recent days there had been no sign of its aura. Furthermore, they all knew that the Qilin lion had been severely injured after a huge battle. Everyone was hoping that it had fallen. Just as some of the beasts were about to go near the Qilin lion's territory, a strong aura of the Dragon Clan could be felt. Instantly, all the beasts stopped in their tracks and trembled. The Qilin lion was already an overlord among them. Who would have thought that a Dragon Clan member would appear? Who would dare to go near it? Wouldn't that be courting death? In an instant, all the beasts who had the intention to go in retreated. They treated the Qilin lion's territory as a forbidden place. In the following days, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others began to cultivate in seclusion in the forest world. The scenery was beautiful and the vital energy was dense. It was also very safe. It was much better than cultivating in the Green Dragon sect. If they wanted to find some opponents, all they had to do was to look for beasts to practice their skills. However, they obviously did not have such thoughts at the moment. After all, they had just arrived in the upper realm. Increasing their strength was the most important thing. After cultivating in seclusion for a month, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others finally came out of the Chaos Ring. It was good to cultivate in the forest world. However, they had not come out for so many days. It was inevitable that people would be suspicious. Hence, it was necessary for them to come out and walk around occasionally. Then we'll go to the guild first. When Xiren, Shangguan Yingying, Ao Lingxiao and Mo Yunjue walked out together. Although they had already obtained the method of cultivation, there were still some things that they needed to do in the guild. You guys go ahead. After everyone left, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other. Both of them were amused. Di Beichen didn't have a dark guild, so he didn't need to go. As for Bailey Hongzhuang, although she had a Radiant Sacred Assembly, it wasn't a good place for her to go. She did have the identity card of the Radiant Sacred Assembly, but if she took it out, the people of the Radiant Sacred Assembly would recognize her. If she did not take out her identity card, the Holy Light Assembly would definitely make her go through the talent test again. After all, one's attributes could not be determined by words alone. With the Radiant Sacred Assembly's position in the Xingxian continent, there would definitely be many cultivators who wanted to call themselves members of the Radiant Sacred Assembly. Therefore, it was obvious that their confirmation process would be very strict. Under such circumstances, Bailey Hongzhuang had no way of entering. It's rare for us to come out. Let's go out for a walk. We'll find a place to sell these pills and exchange them for some spiritual stones. Then we'll buy some high-grade spiritual herbs. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a smile. She had refined a lot of Dan before. Rome and city was also a very big city. It could be said that everything was available here. Chapter 45-33. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Di Beichen also nodded. Now that they were all trying their best to improve their cultivation, the consumption of cultivation resources could be said to be extremely fast. Although there were still some spirit stones left, there were not many left. It would not be long before all of them were used up. Exchanging them for more cultivation resources was also extremely important for them now. After making preparations, the two of them walked out of the Azure Dragon Gate together. Di Beichen, although there is also an auction in Rome and city, it is said that the process is quite complicated. Why don't we go directly to Danbao Pavilion to take a look? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and looked at Di Beichen. I heard senior brother Wanyan say that this Danbao Pavilion is not bad, and they have connections with the auction. The price will not be bad. She was very familiar with the pills she took out this time. Although they were still in high demand, these pills might not be able to enter a large-scale auction based on the foundation of the upper realm. In that case, it would be better to sell them directly and save them the trouble. Okay. Di Beichen replied. He had heard of Danbao Pavilion before. Its reputation in Rome and city could be said to be very good. The two of them walked all the way to Danbao Pavilion. Danbao Pavilion was located in the center of Rome and city and was very close to the Holy Light Assembly. When Bailey Hongzhuang went to the Holy Light Assembly, she often passed by Danbao Pavilion. The magnificent building revealed its aura and foundation. Anyone who could afford to open a shop like Danbao Pavilion must have a lot of confidence. After all, it was impossible to recruit a powerful alchemist without enough foundation. Not long after, the two of them arrived at Danbao Pavilion. However, as soon as they walked into Danbao Pavilion, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen found that there were many acquaintances here. Wanyan Han, Yi Haomiao and Wanyan Ling were all there, and the other person was Xiao Rojin. However, judging from the atmosphere, it did not seem to be very good. "Senior brother Wanyan," Bailey Hongzhuang called out softly. She noticed that Wanyan Han's face was ashen, and his eyes were filled with anger and killing intent. The target of this anger was obviously Xiao Rojin. Looking at the situation, Wanyan Han probably had a conflict with Xiao Rojin. Suddenly hearing this familiar voice, Wanyan Han couldn't help but turn his head. When he saw Bailey Hongzhuang, he was a little surprised. Junior sister Lan." Wanyan Han's heart skipped a beat. He was used to calling her junior sister. At this moment he almost blurted it out. Xiao Rojin's gaze also fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. She couldn't help but think of the words that Wanyan Han had almost blurted out. "Small what? Little junior sister?" Xiao Rojin immediately thought of this name. Wanyan Han had always called Bailey Hongzhuang that way. Then he thought about the man and woman in front of him. If Bailey Hongzhuang were still alive, would they? Xiao Rojin's gaze kept sizing up Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen, trying to find some clues. However, their expressions were normal, and she couldn't see where they had disguised themselves. This made her dispel her suspicions. "Senior brother Wanyan, what happened?" Di Beichen took a step forward and walked to Wanyan Han's side. Hearing this, the anger in Wanyan Han's heart surged again. He clenched his hands into fists and then weakly released them. He was a cultivator from the lower realm. He had no foundation and no spirit stones. What could he use to compete with Xiao Rojin? Chapter 45-34. Looking at Wanyan Han's disappointed expression, Yi Haomiao couldn't take it lying down. "Xiao Rojin, we were the ones who said we wanted to buy this divine light pill first. You're doing this on purpose." Yi Haomiao glared at Xiao Rojin. He hated this woman more and more. She looked gentle and pleasant on the surface, but she was more vicious than anyone else in her heart. However, Xiao Rojin didn't care about Yi Haomiao's angry words at all. On the contrary, the smile on her face became even more brilliant and proud. "So what if I'm going against you on purpose? There's only one divine light pill here. The highest bidder gets it. You can't afford it, so don't tell me you won't let me buy it? You're blaming others because you can't afford it. If this gets out, people will laugh their heads off." Xiao Rojin chuckled. Anger and hatred flickered in the depths of her eyes. She had been unhappy with these guys for a long time. Previously, Bailey Hongzhuang had joined the Raging Flame School because of them. They had already caused her a lot of trouble. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang had died, Wanyan Han actually made a scene with her. How hateful. After Wanyan Han got drunk and caused trouble, she clearly felt that many people had linked Bailey Hongzhuang's death to her. One had to know that she had always been praised by everyone in the Raging Flame School. Now her credibility was clearly much weaker than before. And the root of all this was Wanyan Han and these annoying guys. She happened to pass by the Pill Treasure Pavilion today and saw Wanyan Han and the others here. Naturally, she wanted to find a way to make them unhappy. She happened to see Wanyan Han wanting to buy a divine light pill. If a cultivator wanted to break through from the Starlight Realm to the Starlight Realm, other than cultivating naturally, most cultivators needed the help of pills to advance. In Rome and City, Starlight Realm cultivators were the most common. Therefore, the divine light pill had always been in high demand. Even the Pill Treasure Pavilion only had one divine light pill left. In any case, there was no harm in buying it. She was naturally happy to make Wanyan Han and the others unhappy. Wanyan Han looked at Xiao Rojin angrily. In terms of wealth, he was indeed inferior to Xiao Rojin. To be honest, the amount of spiritual stones he received from the House of Flames wasn't even enough for his monthly cultivation. He had been very frugal these past few years, which was why he had saved up some spiritual stones to buy this cattail light pill. He had even borrowed a little from Yi Haomiao, which happened to be the price of the Pu Guang pill. Not to mention that Xiao Rojin was rich and imposing, he couldn't even take out one more spirit stone. "Let's go," Wanyan Han said. Since he had no fate with this Pu Guang pill, he might as well leave as soon as possible so that he wouldn't be humiliated by Xiao Rojin here. Listening to the conversation between Yi Haomiao and Xiao Rojin, Bailey Hongzhuang and Yi Haomiao finally understood that Xiao Rojin was taking advantage of her position to bully others and deliberately snatched Wang Yinhan's Pu Guang pill. Isn't it just a Pu Guang pill? What's the big deal? Why is this woman so proud of herself? Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a mocking sneer. In the past she didn't see eye to eye with Xiao Rojin, so there was no need to mention it now. Xiao Rojin looked at Bailey Hongzhuang but didn't take her words to heart. Saying the grapes are sour when you can't afford them. Why do I feel a sense of poverty? Chapter 45-35. Xiao Rojin, it's fine if you're targeting me, but don't bite everyone you see like a mad dog. Wang Yinhan looked at Xiao Rojin angrily. His bloodshot eyes made one's heart tremble. He was indeed very poor. Ever since he came to the upper realm, only he knew how hard he had worked to get to where he was today. However, Xiao Rojin's actions today had undoubtedly trampled on his dignity. Even if he was very poor, he was still a person with a backbone. Because of this matter, Xiao Rojin had mocked him, and he indeed could not refute it. However, if she mocked his friends because of this matter, he would not tolerate it. Xiao Rojin looked at Wang Yinhan's serious appearance and could not help but be stunned for a moment. However, when she came back to her senses, her ridicule did not decrease. She was a member of the Xiao family. Even if Wang Yinhan had some status in the Blazing Flame sect, he could not threaten her at all. This guy dared to do such a thing without caring about her face. Would she care about his self-esteem? She just wanted to ruthlessly trample on him. You cultivators from the lower realms have always been inferior. I really can't bear to look at your poor and destitute appearance. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang glanced coldly at Xiao Rojin. You just bought a Pu Guang pill and you've been showing off here for so long. Speaking of which, you should be the poor one, right? You have the nerve to show off here with such little things? What a joke. Just as Xiao Rojin was about to refute Bailey Hongzhuang, a white porcelain bottle suddenly appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's hand. Open your dog eyes and look carefully. This is a bottle of Pu Guang pills, not one. As Bailey Hongzhuang opened the bottle cap, Xiao Rojin also saw the situation in the porcelain bottle clearly. Sure enough, there were 12 Pu Guang pills. After seeing this scene, the eyes of the shopkeeper of the pill and treasure pavilion also shone brightly. Pu Guang pill. It really is a Pu Guang pill. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's movements did not stop there. Bottle after bottle of pills were taken out by her. Pu Guang pill, spirit recovery pill, Yuanqing pill. In a short time, dozens of white porcelain bottles were taken out by Bailey Hongzhuang and placed on the counter. Look carefully. Cultivators from the lower realms like us really don't care about your cattail light pill at all. As for you, you've only bought a single pill and you're already so arrogant. You should know very well who's the poor one here. Bailey Hongzhuang naturally knew that the reason why Xiao Rojin was so against Wang Yinhan was mostly because of them. She definitely could not watch her good friend endure such humiliation because of her. Since Xiao Rojin liked to humiliate people so much, then she would humiliate her back. As soon as Bailey Hongzhuang took out the entire bottle of Pu Guang pills, Xiao Rojin's expression changed. Although she could afford the Pu Guangdan, she couldn't afford an entire bottle of Pu Guangdan. Even though she was a member of the Xiao family, she was only a member of a branch family and had come to the Raging Flame sect to cultivate. In fact, she did not have many resources on hand. She was only slightly wealthier than ordinary cultivators. However, she never would have thought that this cultivator from the lower realms would take out so many pills in such a short time. This was too terrifying. At this moment, she had already forgotten how embarrassing her situation was. Her mind was filled with the feeling that everything in front of her could not be real. Chapter 45-36. At this moment, Wang Yinhan was so shocked that he couldn't speak. He had used up all his money in order to buy a cattail-like pill. However, his little junior sister took out so many pills at once. How did she do it? He could guarantee that none of the cultivators in the Raging Flame sect were as rich as Bailey Hongzhuang. There were so many pills, and each of them was a pill that they desperately needed. Because the sales were too tight, even if they had spirit stones, they often couldn't buy them on normal days. Now, Bailey Hongzhuang took out a whole bottle, and there were dozens of bottles in front of them. This was too shocking. The shopkeeper of the Danbao Pavilion was also dumbfounded at this moment. Their Danbao Pavilion's pills had always been relatively complete in Rong City, but the number of pills each time could not be compared to those that Bailey Hongzhuang took out. Just the pills that Bailey Hongzhuang took out were enough to open a pill shop in Rong and City. Was this a cultivator from the lower world? Who would believe it? At this moment he also felt that Xiao Rojin was showing off in front of an expert. She was simply asking for humiliation. Impossible. These medicinal pills of yours must be fake. Xiao Rojin was also angry at this moment. She didn't believe that a cultivator from the lower world would have such a foundation. However, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't be bothered to pay attention to Xiao Rojin. The shopkeeper of the Danbao Pavilion is right here. Can't he tell whether it's real or fake? If you like to deceive yourself, then comfort yourself like this. You are a frog at the bottom of a well, but you think that others are the same. How ridiculous. After saying this coldly, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Wanyan Han and the others and said, "Senior brother Wanyan, let's go. Don't pay attention to this kind of person. She will lower your standards." How could Yi Haomiao and the others feel good at this moment? Previously they couldn't refute Xiao Rojin's ridicule at all. They didn't expect the situation to turn around in the end. Looking at Xiao Rojin's ashen face and not knowing what to say, he felt a burst of joy. Even after walking out of the Danbao Pavilion, Wanyan Han was still in shock. Yi Haomiao, on the other hand, was a straightforward person. Previously he had been so sullen that he was about to die. Now he was completely carefree. Noticing Di Beichen beside Bailey Hongzhuang, he couldn't help but ask, "Beichen, why didn't you say anything in that situation just now?" Di Beichen chuckled. "My wife can handle this kind of thing. I don't need to do anything." If it was any other matter he might still be a little worried. However, when it came to pills there was no need to worry at all. Competing with an outstanding alchemist to see who had more medicinal pills, wasn't this courting death? Yi Haomiao couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. Although it's just a simple sentence, I can still hear the hint of a public display of affection. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Haomiao, if you feel lonely, why don't you find a Taoist companion early so that we can see your public display of affection? Just you wait. Sooner or later there will be such a day," Yi Haomiao said, unconvinced. After Wanyan Han came back to his senses, he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and asked, "Junior sister, how do you have so many medicinal pills?" Chapter 45-37. Ah. Wanyan Han was stunned. "Aren't you an inscription master?" "These two are actually my identities." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. However, after listening to the conversation between Wanyan Han and Bailey Hongzhuang, Wanyan Ling couldn't help but frown. "Junior sister Bailey, are you still an inscription master? But I clearly remember that you are a doctor." "Ah." Wanyan Han and Yi Haomiao exclaimed again. They were already confused. Now that they heard Wanyan Ling's words, they were even more confused. In fact, they didn't cultivate with Bailey Hongzhuang in Penglai Palace. Only Wanyan Ling understood Bailey Hongzhuang's situation the best. Di Beichen looked at Wanyan Han and the others who were getting more and more confused. He couldn't help but smile playfully. His wife's ability was indeed too heaven-defying. Many cultivators wouldn't believe it if it was spread out. Ahem. Bailey Hongzhuang coughed dryly. She had forgotten that Wanyan Ling knew this. She could only spread her hands helplessly. "Actually, these three are all my identities." Wanyan Han and the others stared blankly at Bailey Hongzhuang. After receiving her confirmation, they didn't know what to say anymore. They had already seen Bailey Hongzhuang's attainments in inscription techniques. If it wasn't for her help, Wanyan Han wouldn't have been able to improve his weapon and wouldn't have such a status in the Raging Flames sect. As for her alchemy skills, they didn't doubt it at all. No matter what kind of elixir Bailey Hongzhuang took out, it wasn't a low-grade elixir. On the contrary, there were very few alchemists who could refine such elixirs. They didn't know much about Bailey Hongzhuang's medical skills, but they didn't take it to heart. After all, an alchemist was also a doctor to a certain extent. It was just that there was a gap between them and a pure doctor. However, Wanyan Ling thought differently. He knew how outstanding Bailey Hongzhuang's medical skills were. Because of Bailey Hongzhuang, Penglai Palace's status in Penglai Island was raised again. "Junior sister, I didn't expect you to be so talented at such a young age. I really admire you." Wanyan Han cupped his hands. At this moment he didn't know how to express his amazement and admiration. It was already amazing that Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation could reach such a cultivation at such a young age. He didn't expect her to not only cultivate but also learn inscription techniques, alchemy, and even medical skills at the same time. Not only cultivate, but she also learned inscription techniques in alchemy and medicine at the same time. If STS cultivations Shihan Hanza is even more amazing skill. Was an Ninananti, linked to ordinary peoples. Hong Zhuang, you've hidden your strength too deeply. I've never seen such a powerful cultivator like you. It's my honor to be your friend. A joyful smile appeared on Yi Haomiao's face. He also felt proud that his friend was so powerful. Senior brother Wanyan, do you need light elixir? Bailey Hongzhuang took out a white porcelain bottle and handed it to Wanyan Han. This elixir is for you. It should be helpful to you. From Wanyan Han's performance in Danbao Pavilion, it could be seen that he was embarrassingly short of money. It was really difficult for him to buy the elixirs he needed. Presumably, these spirit stones were saved. Chapter 45-38. Although Bailey Hongzhuang was an alchemist and this pill was much easier for her to make, the value of the pill was still there. He couldn't accept it without doing anything. Eldest senior brother, with our relationship, why are you so polite? Little junior sister, this pill is very precious. I haven't been able to help you all this time. How can I accept your things? Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang said helplessly, if you say so, my life is saved by you. Are these pills more valuable than my life? As she spoke, Bailey Hongzhuang directly stuffed the white porcelain bottle into Wanyan Han's hand. These pills are nothing to me. I have as many as I want. Since we are brothers and sisters, we naturally have to help each other. If you are so polite with me, you are treating me as an outsider. At this time, Di Beichen also said, Senior brother Wanyan, just accept it. When Hongzhuang refined the pills, she prepared some for you. Both he and Bailey Hongzhuang knew very well that the Raging Flame School's resources were not enough to support Wanyan Han's cultivation. If he wanted to break through, this pill was unavoidable. Although they hadn't known Wanyan Han and the others for a long time, friendship was never measured by time. Seeing this, Wanyan Han looked at the white porcelain bottle in his hand, then looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen and said, then I'll accept it. He didn't say thank you because he knew that this was not something that could be expressed with just a word of thanks. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang and Wanyan Han needed him in the future, he would definitely not refuse. Bailey Hongzhuang finally showed a satisfied smile. She immediately took out 2 identical white porcelain bottles and handed them to Yi Haomiao and Wanyan Ling. I prepared this for you before. I planned to give it to you when I asked you out tonight. I didn't expect to meet you so early. Xiao Rojin looked at the backs of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others as they left and felt a surge of anger rush to her head. She had lived for so long and had never been so humiliated that she couldn't say a word. However, she really didn't have the ability to refute. The pills that Bailey Hongzhuang took out made even her extremely envious. Normally, the family couldn't give her much resources. Even with the Raging Flame School's resources, she still didn't have much on hand. However, she didn't expect these cultivators from the lower realm to be even richer than her. So many medicinal pills. What kind of wealth was that? Xiao Rojin couldn't help but think that if she could snatch these pills, she was confident that she could break through to the Starlight Realm in a short period of time. She believed that her aptitude wasn't bad, she didn't have enough resources. Greed and covetousness continued to rise in Xiao Rojin's heart. She must snatch these pills back. Thinking of this, Xiao Rojin immediately took action. Bailey Hongzhuang's group of 5 walked on the street. Wanyan Han originally planned to buy pills. Now that he had the pills, he naturally didn't have anything else to do. As for Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen, they originally planned to sell pills at the Danbao Pavilion. However, after this incident, they didn't have a good impression of the Danbao Pavilion. If the Danbao Pavilion was really a shop with principles, it would naturally be first come, first served. However, they clearly didn't realize this, so they still decided to sell it at the auction. Chapter 45-39. However, just as Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were about to enter the auction house, a familiar and sharp voice suddenly rang out behind them. It's them? They stole my pills. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but turn around when they heard this. They saw Xiao Rojin quickly rushing over. Standing beside her were the disciples of the Raging Flame School who usually held her in high esteem. Senior Sister Xiao, you're saying Wanyan Han and the others stole your pills? Xiao Rojin nodded. Her bright eyes were filled with anger and disgust. Ever since Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen died, this Wanyan Han has always been looking for trouble with me. Actually, his goal isn't to avenge his juniors at all. He just wants to get some benefits from me. A few days ago, I just received a lot of cultivation resources from the clan. I didn't expect Wang Yinhan to steal them. How hateful. Xiao Rojin's voice was extremely loud. At this moment, they were on a crowded street. In almost a short time, the surrounding pedestrians were all attracted over. As the only light attribute cultivator in the Raging Flame School, Xiao Rojin's reputation was quite resounding. When she spoke at this moment, many people recognized her. As for Wang Yinhan, there were also many cultivators who knew him. However, his reputation couldn't be compared to Xiao Rojin's. Xiao Rojin was a cultivator of the Xiao clan, while Wang Yinhan was only a cultivator from the lower realm. When Xiao Rojin said this, almost no one doubted her. Everyone was certain that this was definitely Wang Yinhan's doing. Cultivators from the lower realm don't have much background. I can understand that they lack cultivation resources. However, I didn't expect them to steal. What's so strange about that? In order to increase their cultivation, what wouldn't they do? Now that Xiao Rojin has exposed it, Wang Yinhan's reputation is probably ruined. It will be very difficult for him to establish himself in the Raging Flame School in the future. Everyone shook their heads. Stealing cultivation resources was a common occurrence in the upper realm. However, not only had Wang Yinhan been discovered, but he had also been pointed out by his fellow disciples on the spot. This meant that there was no turning back for this matter. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others didn't expect that Xiao Rojin would come out and find such a funny excuse, but so many people believed it. Xiao Rojin, your ability to lie through your teeth is really amazing. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but sigh. Because this woman coveted his medicinal pills, she actually splashed a basin of dirty water on them. However, that righteous indignation look was still impeccable. It was really admirable. I'm telling the truth. It's impossible for you guys from the lower realms to have so many pills. All the pills are cultivation resources given to me by my family. Xiao Rojin's expression did not change. She had already made up her mind. As long as she insisted, no matter how Wang Yinhan and the others tried to defend themselves, it would be useless. After all, in Rong and City, her trust was much stronger than Wang Yinhan and the others. Xiao Rojin, stop slandering me. Wang Yinhan's anger rose. He really didn't expect Xiao Rojin to be so despicable. You know very well who's slandering you. Xiao Rojin snorted coldly. Who doesn't know that you, Wang Yinhan, have always wanted to buy a divine light pill? However, you haven't been able to gather it for so long. You know that there's a divine light pill among the cultivation resources given to me by my family, so you have evil thoughts. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.